Hello. Hello.
Amy, it's great to be here with you.
Good to be here too, with you. So I'm the CEO of the Future Today Institute, and we develop original research and deliver long-term trends analysis and scenarios and decision frameworks for business and government around the world. And while we focus on all areas of technology, one area that's been particularly interesting to me, and certainly to everybody that we work with, is artificial intelligence. And lately, both artificial intelligence and this weird new intersection where you play, which is biology. And I think one of the most exciting applications of all of this is new drug discovery. So that's actually why we're here. And I think one of the cool things you're doing, Sean, is creating, to me, you're like setting the seeds for a future in which we approach drug discovery in a totally different way. So explain to us, as though you were talking to my 11-year-old daughter, what is Absci and what are you actually building and doing?
Yeah, definitely. And maybe before we dive into AI drug discovery and what Absci is doing, I just want to say congratulations on your latest book, Amy, and the Genesis machine. And I've definitely been listening to that when I've been working out. Again, congratulations on that. And I think it's providing a great perspective at a high level as to what AI and synthetic biology is doing. And so it's great to have that perspective out there for all the folks here, as well as investors, analysts, which is super important for our industry. So congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate all that. Now let's talk to all of the investors and analysts, 11-year-olds, and to my 11. What is it? So explain it the way that you would explain it to an 11-year-old.
Yeah, definitely. So what we're doing here at Absci is really merging AI and biology together to ultimately get better drugs to patients and ultimately increase the overall probability of success throughout the clinic. Currently, it's about a 4% success rate.
Why is it so low? That seems really bad. What's going on?
Well, let's just take a look at an antibody sequence, a protein-based drug. There's more sequence variants or possible combinations of drug candidates that you could create in an antibody than there are atoms in the universe. And that is the reason why it's a 4% success rate, because we're not searching in the right search space. And when you take biological data and you merge that with AI, you're able to look at the whole search space to ultimately hone in what is right for that particular indication or patient, which is ultimately going to allow us to go from a 4% success rate to a 10 to a 50, and ultimately personalized medicine from there.
Okay, so AI is kind of an umbrella term that means a bunch of different things to different people. So let's break this down a little bit. What exactly are you, what exactly is going on over there in Washington State? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, definitely. So we've spent the last 10 years developing what we call our SynBio platform. And it takes a very simple organism, E. coli, and we pair that up with our screening platform. And what we're able to do is build these large billion-member libraries and screen them inside the cell. And we're able to look at the functionality of proteins or protein-protein interactions along with the titer, the manufacturability. And in a given week, we're able to screen about 10 billion different antibody drug candidates. And that's really compared to maybe screening tens of thousands that is currently best in the industry. And that data throughput and the quality gives us the ability to actually leverage deep neural networks and allow us to not only look at 10 billion drug candidates, but look at the whole universe, and then ultimately hone in on what is the right universe to be looking at for that particular indication or target.
Right, so that sounds to me like you're using some type of transformer model. I mean, does NLP? Let's use fewer buzzwords. How about it? Otherwise, everybody's going to be like, so natural language processing plays a role in this, is what I'm hearing from you in some way?
Exactly. It's NLP. So just like NLPs are used with language, taking, let's say, English and saying hello in English, and taking that phrase and turning it into France. Obviously, it's way more complicated than that. And what we're doing is learning the language of proteins. With the data that we have, it's all about what is the language of a protein? How does a protein fold, and then how does a protein ultimately then bind to the target of interest? And so these NLP models that have been developed at tech companies like Google, we can take that and apply that to biology.
Right. So you just said protein, fold, and Google in the same sentence. So I got to ask. Are you like right? So like, what's up, man? Are you building an AlphaFold competitor, or how are you? What is this? How are you different?
Yeah. So what AlphaFold did was they were able to take a sequence of a protein and be able to predict the structure. Structure is really important. I would say from an academic perspective, this is a huge breakthrough. But when it comes to drug discovery, protein-protein interaction is one of the most important aspects. And even in the AlphaFold paper, they talk about not having enough data on protein-protein interactions to be able to predict, what affinity an antibody would bind to the target. And so we're essentially just looking at the other side of the coin.
Right. So this is the thing yes, that's all very interesting. And as much as that blows my mind, the thing that really blows my mind is a couple of weeks ago, you guys, there was like a huge thing that happened that got very little coverage. So your interesting, smallish biotech startup is working with NVIDIA, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, why don't you, okay, we can talk about this, yes?
Yes, we can.
Otherwise, I'm going to feel real bad that I just brought it up. So
yeah.
Okay. All right, good.
Yes.
Good. We can all chat about it. But this was a huge, big deal, and it makes me, the question is, why didn't I hear analysts talking about this? Why wasn't this in the media? And I think that there's just this, first of all, I don't think people understand why this was important, and I think there's a fundamental gap. There's like this delta between what's happening in AI and what's happening in biology. So you should explain what this thing is, and then we can both be upset about nobody talking about it, but why don't you explain what it is first?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say, I was definitely bummed on the coverage that was picked up, but you have to realize, though, when you're merging two industries...
Wait, what is NVIDIA? So to explain, so just this is not a pure AI crowd, so what is this company, and why would an AI company want to talk to you?
Yeah, so what NVIDIA sells to customers is GPUs, and what that allows you to do is run your models and be able to ultimately scale your models. The more compute you put around certain models, the more accurate your models get. And so NVIDIA is absolutely key to success within AI for healthcare and all the other industries that are out there.
Right, for context, so this is a best-in-class, from my point of view, this is like a best-in-class computer vision company that's mostly, their CEO is kind of known for having held a press conference in the metaverse, but it was, people talked about it. That video had 2 million views, I think, within the first hour, which is, significant. So why is a company that is in the gaming, metaverse, Web3, cartoon avatar space, what do they care about health? I mean, I know what the answer is, but I think we should tell them.
Yeah, so NVIDIA is looking to partner with industry leaders that are going to activate an ecosystem. And they see that healthcare is the next industry that's ultimately going to get activated by AI. We've seen AI transform almost every other industry. And it's made huge advancements on society. It's made great returns for investors. And I think investors and us from a technological perspective know that AI within healthcare is the future. And it hasn't been tapped at all. And NVIDIA saw what we were able to do and what we were able to how we were able to merge AI and biology together to have some of these huge breakthroughs. And they're like, we want to partner with Absci to help ensure that we're developing the GPUs and the software that are ultimately going to scale within healthcare and within drug discovery. And so that partnership together really signifies for us as an industry that this is the future. This is where it's headed. NVIDIA is making a bet in this space, and it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I think this is the piece that, from my vantage point, analysts get wrong and investors get wrong a lot. Everybody's so obsessed with, when are the robots going to come and take all of our jobs? And then when are the robots going to come and murder us in our sleep? That there's an entire storyline that's missing. And when the community talks about automation, it's automation as it relates to work. Automation to speed, to automatically do pattern recognition, right? To do the types of computations that even the smartest collection of humans just don't have the mental compute, the biological compute to do on their own. This is obviously an enormous frontier that gets us closer to therapeutics and other things that we need. But I think that there's this everybody's so specialized that nobody can see that connective tissue, I guess, in between. I mean, we were talking about that earlier, right?
No, totally. And I would say the investors that got most excited about this partnership and the data that we had presented and really showing this huge technological breakthrough that we had, it was the tech investors. They're like, this is absolutely incredible. Like, they're thinking this should have occurred 5 years from now. And I think that we need, as an industry, look at tech and biotech and start to understand both perspectives here, because they're really important. And we need tech investors to understand biotech, and we need biotech investors to start understanding tech better and be highly collaborative. Like, again, when you're merging two industries together, it's not one is right or one is wrong. It's how do we be collaborative and help tech investors better understand biotech, and then the biotech investors understand the tech and the huge breakthroughs that we're currently having. And I think that's what's really needed here.
So since we're on investing for a hot minute, let me press you a little bit more. So Altos Labs got a $3 billion round of funding, and I don't even know what I don't know what the valuation is on $3 billion worth of investment without any products, right? That to me is a little concerning, because when I think back to the 1980s, and everybody was very excited about artificial intelligence, and there were enormous promises that were made that failed to materialize, there was a winter, the AI winter of the 80s, and then it took a very long time for things to bounce back. So from you're kind of stuck, right? Because you're trying to convince people, hey, this is real. And I, by the way, think it's real. But at the same time, there seems to be a lot of money just being thrown at everything. And I worry a little bit about a looming SynBio winter. And I don't know if you probably don't want to say if you feel that way in front of everybody, right? But tell us, we want to know. Do you feel that way?
What scares me is you look at the AI drug discovery companies that currently have drugs in the clinic, and I think the work that they're doing is really extraordinary, and it's on the small molecule side. You have Exscientia, you have Recursion, you've got Schrodinger, and my fear is that if they have a small molecule drug that ends up failing that was discovered from AI, that's going to have a huge setback for AI within drug discovery. But what investors and everyone have to realize is that we're in the early innings. And what we've been able to demonstrate is we can take an antibody sequence and predict the affinity to a target. And not only that, we can use these models to actually generate an antibody that has the affinity that we want to a target. This is what we are wanting investors and analysts to really focus in on, is the technological advancements. I mean, this is a huge advancement within the space. And if we're able to do this, think about all the other extraordinary things we're going to do. And yes, affinity doesn't correlate to success in the clinic, but just being able to demonstrate that you can do this is truly incredible. And we're going to continue to chip away at it, but we are in the very, very early innings with very huge proof of concepts being shown. And to me, like, that's really exciting. We're gonna have failures, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's looking at the technical success that's being seen.
Right, so I want to unpack a few things because I think they're worth just noting. And Kathy Wood also mentioned this morning, right? That we're at the very beginning of a multi-decade long trajectory. This is a deep time horizon. And I agree with you. The worst thing that can happen is we get outsized expectations for what should be happening, as though you can schedule an R&D breakthrough the way that you schedule your quarterly offsite or something like that, right? And then investors get spooked, or there is a problem or a failure at some company in the space, and then that's it. You know, this is long-haul, groundbreaking, life-altering technology that will pay off at some point, but I don't know when. You know, and if anybody could build that kind of a model, it would be me. But I can't tell anybody when that happens. And so, I would even not say early innings for all of this. I mean, I would say that the guys are on the field pitching the ball, and we haven't even started the baseball game. Should we keep with we'll stop the baseball metaphor and move on to data. Where are you getting all this data? So you need a lot of it. And I'd like to know where it comes from.
Yeah, so we were not an AI-first company. We were actually a SynBio-first company, and we spent the last 10 years developing SynBio technology that really became our data engine. It's our SoluPro E. coli strain paired up with our screening assays that allow us to, in a single experiment, screen over 10 billion different drug candidates, looking at their affinity or functionality or titer and their manufacturability. And that gives us the ability to actually leverage deep learning and actually have these huge breakthroughs that we've had. But it all goes back to the data, and we're recruiting top talent from Google, Facebook, you name it. They're coming here and they're like, we came here because you have the data. I can sit there.
Right, but where is it? Sorry,
Yeah.
where are the data coming from? Not the humans using the data. Where does it come from?
Yeah, so it comes from our wet lab. It's literally, we have the technology at our campus in Vancouver, Washington, a non-biotech hub, which is an amazing place to be. And just to show you that any SynBio or AI company can be built anywhere, but it's all built in our labs in Vancouver, Washington. It's the technology, and that's why we're getting all of this talent to come work here at Absci, because they can go make a boatload of money at large tech companies and build these models, but they can't test them. They can't be like, my model is correct. And they don't also have the data to also create the next model that's going to be used for drug discovery and within biology. And so they're able to rapidly iterate on these models and get the data where they couldn't get it any other, in any other
right.
place.
So the problem one of the many problems in the field of AI is data sourcing. The corpus, knowing what data got put in, accountability, traceability, and everything else. So this is not a question about your data, but more sort of a big picture question. Do you think algorithms used in the space need their own clinical trials of some kind? I mean, that would be a regulatory nightmare, but still.
Yeah. It would. So I believe what's going to end up happening is that the models become more and more predictive of efficacy, and we're going to start to see that 4% success rate go to 10%, and then ultimately 20, 50%. And once that occurs, you're going to be able to start to go to the FDA and start to lobby and be like, we need to change how we do FDA clinical trial and design, because for every 1 and 2 drugs we discover, we're able to have success over that, or we're going to have success throughout the clinic, and that's what's going to enable personalized medicine.
Right.
And that's truly the future. And think about this: you have personalized medicine that for every single drug that goes through, 50% success rate, that's going to completely change the paradigm of healthcare, or of health insurance as well. And so the whole industry is going to be flipped on its head once you start to see these huge advancements start to progress.
Yes, so that is going to scare a lot of people. So is your message, hey, now is a time for us to think through and evolve our business models, our operating models? Is that what you're saying?
100%, and this is where we have to come together as a community, the SynBio talent, AI talent, tech, investors, biotech investors, and really start to understand, like, what does this mean? If we are successful, it's gonna mean that we're gonna create all this value. How do we capture this value, and how do we set ourselves up for success? Because at the end of the day, it's truly amazing why I get up every day is because this is gonna change patients' lives. This is gonna get better drugs to patients and ultimately allow personalized medicine. And like, what better thing? But we do have to start talking about this now. It's super important.
I think that's right. All right, we're out of time, so I'm gonna ask you one last question, and it's the question I ask everybody I meet. What's the last great thing you've read so that I can read it?
Well, obviously your book.
Obviously my book, but aside from the book, which all of you should buy and read, it's called The Genesis Machine. Appreciate that, but that's actually not why. I do ask this question of everybody. So like, what's something that you just read that we should all go read?
So since I'm currently reading your book, I'm going to go back to one of the books that I always tell entrepreneurs to read. And I think, again, there's a lot of exciting companies that are being generated in this space, and a lot of new entrepreneurs is The Hard Things About Hard Things. And it's a journey about how rough it is to be an entrepreneur, and how you have to constantly continue to believe in the impossible and work through hard things that occur every single day. And I read that book. It was hugely transformational for me. It was Ben Horowitz that wrote it, and that's I'd say one of my top 5 books that I've read as an entrepreneur personally.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sean, thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Amy. It's been great chatting about AI and biology and how we're going to change the world here. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.